Bismillahirrahmanirrahim and Assalamu alaikum. Dear students, our first lesson of biology is from chapter number 9 of your book, which is Diversity Among Animals. This chapter will cover all the topics related to the kingdom Animalia. So first of all, in this chapter we will see the characteristics of animals. Then we will learn about the criteria for animal classification. Then we will see the diversity in animals. And finally, we will read about the details about the invertebrates and vertebrates. So students, here you are watching some general characteristics of kingdom Animalia. As you know, they are heterotrophic because they cannot make their own food due to the lack of chlorophyll. Plus, they all are multicellular. You know that the members of the kingdom Animalia and the members of the kingdom Plantae, they both are true multicellular because their body is made up of more than one cell and they all vary in size. According to the broad classification, they are divided into two main groups, which are the invertebrates and the vertebrates. According to the definition, invertebrates are without backbone and the vertebrates are with backbone. So they are also composed, these invertebrates actually composed of the 9 phyla, and these are the Porifera, phylum Nidaria, phylum Platyhelminthes, phylum Nematoda, phylum Annelida, Mollusca, Arthropoda, Kynodermata, and finally the phylum Chordata. So students, after having the information about the general characteristics of kingdom Animalia, here you are watching some basic classification of the kingdom Animalia. First of all, according to the ancient classification, the members of kingdom Animalia was divided into two major categories. These were the invertebrates and vertebrates, because at that time the information related to the cytology and the histology was very less. So that's why the taxonomists have divided the members of the kingdom Animalia on just some visible characteristics, which is just the presence or the absence of the vertebral column. So according to them, invertebrates are those members of the kingdom Animalia which have this vertebral column, and they all are the non-chordates according to the today's classification or the modern classification. And the vertebrates are those members of the kingdom Animalia which have the vertebral column, and according to the modern classification, now they are called the chordates. So this was the basis of some ancient type of classification. Another basis of the ancient classification was the cellular composition. So taxonomists of that time have divided the members of the kingdom Animalia into three groups according to their cellular composition. According to them, the animals who are just unicellular are included into the kingdom or the group which is known as the protozoans. According to them, the protozoans are those animals which are just unicellulars, like the paramecium and the amoeba. And the second group, according to them, was the parazoans. And who are the parazoans? Which are whose bodies are not divided into the tissues and the organ system. And finally, the metazoans. Metazoans are, according to them, are those animals which have the tissue and the organ system. So the division of the members of the kingdom Animalia into three groups, which are the protozoans, parazoans, and metazoans. This was on the basis of their cellular composition, and this was again an ancient type of classification. But now, according to the modern classification system, which was given by the Whitaker, that the total living organisms of the world have been divided into 5 major kingdoms, which are the kingdom Monera, which includes all the the prokaryotes, and the eukaryotes, having the 4 kingdoms, which are naming as the protozoans, and the kingdom Fungi, the kingdom Plantae, and the kingdom Animalia. So according to the modern system of classification, which is given by the Whitaker, the multicellular kingdom Animalia has been divided into 2 major categories, which are the eumetazoans and the parazoans, which are you watching on this page, that the eumetazoans are those multicellular organisms whose body is divided into specialized tissues and they have the organ system. But the parazoans are those multicellular animals which have no tissues and the organ system. So according to the modern classification, this is the basic classification which is given by the Whitaker. So according to this classification, the eumetazoans, whose body are more complex as compared to the parazoans, is again divided into two major categories, which is called the bilateria and the radiata. So according to this, the organisms whose body symmetry is radial and can be divided into two equal halves by more than one plane, so they are considered to belong to the group A, which is called the radiata, while the animals whose body plane is bilateral and they can be divided into two equal halves which are just mirror image of each other by only one plane. So that means these organisms have their left and the right body parts. So these are belong to the group B, which is the bilateria. So students, the system of classification which you are watching on this page is the mixture of the ancient and the modern classification. So first of all, the two categories of the kingdom Animalia, the invertebrates and the vertebrates. And the invertebrates are again divided into the different phyla, and on the basis of their cellular composition, the parazoans have only one example, which is the phylum Porifera. And you know already that the classification or the group of the protozoans has been excluded, and the animals which are just unicellular are placed into another kingdom by the Whitaker, which is the kingdom Protista. So all the protozoans are now included in that kingdom. So this kingdom Animalia is just the multicellular organisms. So they are starting from the parazoans, and the parazoans have only one example, which is the phylum Porifera, while the eumetazoans are divided into the diploblastic as well as into the triploblastic groups. Now, what is triploblastic and the diploblastic division? This is another division of the eumetazoans, which is on the basis of the presence of the either the two germ layers or the three germ layers in their embryonic life. So the organisms who have just two germ layers in their embryonic life, which is just the ectoderm and the endoderm, they are called the diploblastic animals. While the animals or the eumetazoans who have the three germ layers, which are named as the ectoderm, mesoderm, and endoderm in their embryonic life, they are known as the triploblastic animals. So students, if you again watch this page in which all the 9 phyla are mentioned, you can have better idea about this classification. So the first phylum, which is the phylum Porifera, was the only example of the you can say the group parazoans, whose body is not divided into the tissue and the organ system, while rest of the organ is phyla, which are starting from the cnidaria or the coelentrates to the chordates. So the rest of these 8 phyla are grouped into the eumetazoans, whose body have the tissue and the organ system. So as we are talking about the diploblastic and the triploblastic classification, so according to that classification, the phylum Cnidaria or the coelentrates are just the members of the group diploblastic, whose body have just the 2 germ layers in their embryonic life, while the phylum Platyhelminth, starting from the phylum Platyhelminthes to phylum Chordata, which include all the rest 7 phyla, are grouped into the another group, which is called the triploblastic animals, which have the 3 germ layers actually in their embryonic life. So this is another criteria for the classification of the animals. So again, according to another classification which we mentioned earlier, that the some organisms have the radial symmetry, and the some of the animals whose body are showing the bilateral symmetry. So the members of the phylum Cnidaria or the coelentrates, which were also the diploblastic, are included into the group Radiata, which are showing the radial symmetry, while the phylum starting from the Platyhelminthes to chordates, which are also included into the group group triploblastic are belong to the group B, which is the bilateria, because their body is showing the bilateral symmetry. So now, student, as we are moving towards the complicated organisms or the animals, because we have started from the lower animals or the simple animals, and now we are moving towards the complicated animals. So now as we are talking about just the eumetazoans and its classification. So these are the more complicated organisms as compared to the parazoans, and now we will move towards the triploblastic animals, which are more complicated as compared to the diploblastic animals. So in the diploblastic animals, as we have seen, there is only one phylum, which is the phylum Coelenterate or the phylum Cnidaria. Now we will see the classification of the triploblastic animals. So the things are becoming more complicated. So there is another criteria or another basis on the basis of which we are dividing the triploblastic animals now. So the triploblastic animals are divided into three groups, which are named as the coelomates, acoelomates, and the pseudocoelomates. This criteria is based upon the presence or of the absence of the body cavity. So according to this classification, the triploblastic animals are divided into the first group, which are the acoelomates. Acoelomates are those organisms which do not have the body cavity at all, while the pseudocoelomates are those animals which have the body cavity but the fake type of body cavity. And finally the third group, which is known as the coelomates. These are those animals which are having the true body cavity. Now question is that what is the body cavity and what is the fake and the true body cavity? Actually the body cavity is actually developed from the blastocele, and the blastocele is a kind of body cavity which is appeared in the blastula stage of the embryo. So this type of body cavity which is developed from the blastocele is a kind of fake kind of body cavity. So the organism which have this type of body cavity, they are called the pseudocoelomates, and the acoelomates which do not have the body cavity at all. So finally the coelomates, these have the true type of body cavity, and the question is that what is the true type of body cavity? Actually in these organisms, the body cavity has been formed by the splitness of their middle germ layer, which is known as the mesoderm. So this is developed from the archenteron, and this type of body cavity is known as the true body cavity. Now if we will again move to the page of the phyla. So see students, here you are watching again the 9 phyla, and we are talking about the triploblastic, which was started from the platyhelminthes to chordates. So according to the new grouping of the triploblastic animals, the animals who are considered to be the acoelomates are just the members of the phylum platyhelminthes, and the pseudocoelomates which have the fake type of body cavity are the members of the Aschelminthes or the members of the phylum Nematoda. These have alternative names, either the Nematoda or the Aschelminthes. Both are the names of the same members. So these are the pseudocoelomates, while the members of the coelomates are starting from the phylum Annelida to phylum Chordata. So the Annelida, molluscans, arthropods, echinodermates, and the chordates, these all are the members of the coelomates who have true type of body cavity. But students, taxonomists have not stopped here. They have given another criteria for the classification of the coelomates. Again, the coelomates have been divided into two groups, which are known as the protostomes and the deuterostomes. What are the protostomes? These are the members of the Annelida, molluscans, and arthropods. These are those organisms in which the blastopore or the first hole of the embryo is appeared as mouth, not as anus, while the second group of the coelomates are the deuterostomes. These are those animals in which the blastopore or the hole of the embryo is appeared as an anus, not as mouth. So the members of the phylum Echinodermata and the Chordata are included in this category. And finally, students, you can watch the classification of the vertebrates. According to this, the phylum Chordata, which has the subphylum Vertebrata, are divided into 5 major classes. These classes are known as the classes Pisces, in which all the fishes are included. The class Amphibia. The third class is the class Reptilia. The fourth class is the class Aves, which includes the birds. And finally, the fifth class, which is the class Mammalia. So this is all about the classification of the animals. So this is all for now. Thank you and Allah Hafiz.